Good evening and welcome to the February 19th, 2013 meeting of the Petaluma Community Access Board of Directors. Would the secretary call the roll, please?
Yes, Cindy Thomas
Here.
and Eric Adams.
Here.
Matt Pearson.
Here.
Myself, Jason Davies, is here. Neil Fishman.
Here.
Rachel Moran is absent. George Utria.
Here.
And Tim Williamson is here. And John Bertucci.
Here.
Great, thank you.
Okay. I don't believe we have anyone here tonight for public comment, so we shall move to Board of Directors comments and announcements, if anyone has such.
I just would like to say one thing about last month. I would like to apologize to the board for not being there. I got stranded in San Francisco, but that will never happen again. I promise.
No worries.
You can't say that because you can't predict what's
Oh,
going
I
on.
know, but it's just that it should have been averted from the get-go, but it happened. Some just the whole thing happened. That just one after the other that day. It was a one hell of a day.
Cascade.
Yeah, exactly. Snowballed from the get-go.
Right.
Okay.
It's okay, John is good. When he starts calling me now, as soon as
Thank you, and thank you, and thanks to Neil for hosting a lovely event.
Yeah, thank you,
At
Neil.
your
It's
house.
great.
That was a lot of fun.
We did have a very interesting conversation, and it was a good night. So. I'm sorry we missed you there, George. Understood.
Anyone else?
While we're apologizing for not being there, I'll add to it, I wasn't there either, but the cold of the month had taken me out that week, so I didn't think I wanted to share that. So I'm sure it was a lot of fun. It was the year before, so unfortunately it would have rather been
Yeah,
there.
it was good. It was good and productive as well. Okay, anyone else? Okay, is there any modifications to the agenda? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Approval of minutes for the January 15 meeting, 2013, 2013.
I just have one correction, it's a typo. I don't think it would mean redoing the minutes, but Rachel doesn't spell it with A-E-L, it's just E-L at the end.
Oh. I wonder if that was a spell check thing that got me.
And her name appears twice at the
You guys played a
old business and
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Is that it? We need a motion for approval on those.
I move we approve.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay. Oh, does anyone oppose to the minutes or abstaining? George, I know you weren't there, and Matt, you guys want to be marked as abstentions?
I'm sorry?
The meeting minutes, you weren't there, so
Right.
if you want to abstain from approving the minutes, that's, okay. Okay, 2 abstentions, all right. For the record. Treasurer's report, Matt, please.
We're doing okay. We've got a couple interesting comments I was just talking to John about earlier. Let me go back to my notes here. So this month we did get another check from AT&T. John just informed me, and it's still increasing in amount. He's going to talk about it in a few minutes. And we also got our annual dividend check from Summit. So he'll be having that amounts in that in a minute. I haven't seen it yet, but he just told me about that earlier.
How much
So-
was that one, 2,000?
No.
How much is it?
$290
Oh.
came from the Summit, and AT&T was $9,730, and last quarter was $9,207. jumped about 550, yeah, 550.
And those were received in the month of February?
They have 6 weeks to deliver, quarter ended December 31st. So
But they're not posted on the January 31st statement, correct? Yes, because I didn't, yeah,
I haven't deposited actually.
okay.
On your cash reserves.
So, a little over $100,000 at this point in cash, so we're doing well compared to what we have in the past, so. Anybody have any questions? Not that I have an answer for it yet, but I can get back to you.
So we're pretty much on track to pay for the new rent, right?
Oh, yeah, the
All
rent is covered, but when we made the move to expand, we had 6 part-time employees, we now have 4. I've given them raises because they're doing more work, but it covered the differential right there. And I had, are you done?
Unless anyone else has anything else, questions, thoughts, ideas, okay?
Everybody good?
I just have one other thing, it's related to financials, because I did, when I spoke with Scott Broden before the Santa Rosa thing, I brought up the question of the financial review, and he was quite receptive. He just said, write us a letter, sounds like a good idea.
Nice.
So I'll pass this out if you want to update your binders. This is the corrected bylaws for that clause. And the corrected version will go up online, so we have decided we're not obliged to do an audit.
Okay, I'm confused. Corrected bylaws by what action?
In November, we voted to strike the word audit and put
Right.
financial review in.
Oh,
That's
okay.
in the minutes. If you turn it over, Cindy, it's on the next
Right,
page.
right, okay.
And I put a revised 2012, and I took out the word audit. Put in financial
Perfect.
review.
Okay.
So that's gonna be, how much are we gonna save on that? Several thousand, right? Pretty significant
$4
savings.
grand.
Approximately $3 grand probably.
Yeah.
Per year, yes.
Not
Okay,
bad.
well, that's good.
And I will get to the letter, I'll get that to the city before the end of the month.
Cool. Excellent.
Okay. Is that it for our treasurer's report? All right.
So,
Item 7, executive director's report. John, please.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for that, Matt.
I added so much.
Well, things are hopping at PCA. As you can tell, I've got a lot of topics here. We've launched our training classes in January with Final Cut Pro 10 101, and we've started a new system of guest instructor. We brought in Dan Villava, who brushed up on 10 and he's running his second run of 3 classes. It's going great. First one was full, the last full is 4 to 5, this time we have 3. I taught one session last month this month in interview techniques. Enrollment was full, and 2 of the students came along with me and we did a field shoot where they got to interview, and it was really exciting. Now we get to edit, that'll be work. We're going to be launching 3 Final Cut Pro advanced classes. Dan will be teaching, and Thomas is considering teaching a session on Celtec's screenplay writing program. Other classes under consideration: sound, lighting, live to tape switching, Photoshop image sweetening. So our training classes are up and running. We've also had a boom in student activity. We have 3 students from Valley Oak, San Antonio coming in every Thursday. Evelyn Nitzberg is their advisor. She called me up with the idea and we worked it out. They come in every Thursday for the whole semester. I also had 3 Casa Grande students sign up, call out of the blue. They want to, on their own initiative, they want to cover the GQ event and some talent shows that they're organizing. And then Summer Stone, who works with Friday Night Live, which is a teen club working to fight teen substance abuse. She's coming in with 8 students. And we were looking at this, trying to figure out how to structure it, because most of them, all of them, are under 18. There's a liability issue with our insurance, and the parents have to sign. I did enter into contact with Dave Rose, explained that we'd like to call this school partnership, and I was curious if the school had an insurance rider that would cover it. He said no. So we've restructured, or we've arrived at a structure where for a reduced rate, these students, $15, they'll get an annual membership. Their advisor also pays $15. Their parents sign for the liability, and we give them special treatment, mentoring. We also got a call from Mike Trena, who invited Zach to the Santa Rosa JC Media Advisory Meeting. I think it's a new committee they're setting up. They want to have outside input from media professionals on how to make their media department stronger. And Caitlin went along and is going back to talk to teachers. Zach made a good contact with some of the other people who were invited. So it's a community group working on media in the Santa Rosa JC context.
Can I clarify that?
Yes.
So it's actually our digital media programs and certificate programs. So it's not the media department. Don't want to confuse that.
Okay.
So we have a series of certificate programs from 3D design and modeling to game design, video production, audio production courses, and so we're soliciting outside involvement from professionals in the industry to what does it take for someone to come in, what skills does a person need to come in to get an entry-level job in those areas. And so if anyone is interested on TV or here, we're still looking for additional people to help with that. But I didn't mean to cut you off there, I just wanted to separate between the two things because people use the terms interchangeably.
Okay. Well, it was called a media advisory.
It's a digital media advisory committee,
Okay,
certificate, so.
Okay. Next topic. We all went through a little crisis when we thought Zach was leaving us, but he is not. And we're all relieved. And Zach is very excited about staying because he could tell we were making a shift to expansion and reinventing of the station. One thing though, it did point out, underline a certain weakness we have in tech support if we were to lose that. Zach has the institutional memory. He was the one who built the City Hall configuration. And I'm hoping now to find a on-call tech support that Zach can train so that there's some redundancy built in. What's interesting, we only got about 10 resumes, but I do respond to all resumes and with rejection letters. And one person wrote back and thanked me for the respectful note. And I wrote back and said, you want to come in and talk? And so I'm meeting with 2 of these people to see if they could fill that slot. One of them is a gamer. He's designed games and music for games. And the other is a young man who's been working at the public access up in Santa Rosa. So it all turned out well. Our office and operations upgrade is in full swing. We've defined how we want to shape the space in front of my office, the meeting room. It's going to be the PCA lounge.
Nice.
And we've got a couch, a widescreen TV. We painted one of the walls black with chalk paint. We spent $500 for the couch, $800 for the TV. We bought 2 new cameras, which is about $5,500. A new computer for Caitlin so she can do Photoshop with 2 screens. Bumping up the dub rack. Zach's got a bid on curtains for the studio. And we'll be talking more about it later, but this idea of expanding our media offerings, we're going to get still cameras and Photoshop programs. So we are launching a modern media hub. That's the term that I used in the grant proposal.
And John, in buying new cameras, do you use the capital
Yeah.
dollars
Yes,
that we
those
have?
are capital. Well, we use our operational funds and then get reimbursed.
Great.
And we have about 85,000 in our capital.
Nice.
But there will be more costs. This is the moment to spend, and we are looking at an unreplenished capital expense fund, so we might be looking at a fund drive to fill that back up. It's eventually,
And you said, I'm sorry, you said still cameras you were?
yeah, I think,
And what would the use be? Are you having a demand for this?
no, but I think if we went public and said, you need a digital camera to go shoot something, you can check it out at PCA. And we'll teach you how to use it, and we'll show you how to take it into Photoshop and sweeten the pictures.
Plus you could do video on those.
Yeah, it's just
And
more,
how much were those cameras?
I think we just bought one for about 800.
One for 800?
We bought one for 800. We wanted a real good one for in-house use. I don't know yet. I mean, that's all part of the reinventing PCA.
Have you done any investment in sound equipment or lighting equipment?
No, not yet. We've got two real nice LCD lamps, and look, they're getting checked out. You've seen them, right? Yeah, they're
And
great.
mics at all? Mics? Microphones?
Microphones, that's in the works.
I have a question about, are we doing anything with the radio at all? Are we any improvements?
Yeah, Zach's still working on it.
Because it's been going from bad to worse.
Really?
Oh
Zach's
yeah,
still in the
the computer's slow, the deck doesn't work, there's no telephone, there's
There's no telephone. We have a dedicated line for it.
yeah, there's no telephone in there. It's been there, it's been gone for 3 months.
Okay.
Also, my last show I did, there was a recording going on in the other studio, and they were being really loud. It's not I mean, that's what we want people to do, but we definitely want a soundproof room that we can actually do something and with, and not have people running in and out from when you're trying to do a show. You see what I'm saying? And it was really distracting, and I haven't done my show in 3 weeks because of that. Because now that we do it, now that we have, that's the new problem that's gonna come up. See what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's, if we're gonna do reinvent the whole process of PCA, I think
Well,
that.
I'm quite aware that the radio has been a challenge in the 4 years I've been there. It could be moved into the studio. It could be dropped.
Right, I know
We
that.
may not be able to deliver on it. We have an advisory subcommittee that's supposed to meet with Zach, and I think that we should convene that meeting and start to look at those options.
Yeah,
Because it's not something we can just Band-Aid and fix. It needs to be
Oh,
rethought from the ground up.
it definitely needs a lot of improvement, because there's in the last 5 months, there's probably I've had 1 or 2 shows that went without a hitch.
Okay.
Every single one of them had something going on.
When has the advisory committee met yet? Can we,
Who is on that committee? It's George,
Me
Jason,
and Zach was, but then Zach was gone, and so now that he's definitely back,
Yeah.
be good. Plus I have some stuff to bring from a couple shows that I went to in terms of.
And who was the third person? Who was the third? Was it Matt?
Matt wanted to be involved too, yeah, in the subcommittee on the studio build out.
Yeah.
can one of you take charge of
Yes,
calendaring folks for that? And
Yes.
nail something down by the end of the week?
I'll do that.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, 2 more items here. I sent you all the grant I put together for the Petaluma Community Foundation. Should we all see that?
He's gonna bold it when he prints them.
And I think it's a pretty good start on an action plan, which we can carry over into discussing the reinvention of PCA. And then I will be taking a short vacation in March, going to New York for 3 days, March 11, 12, and 13. The only impact that might have is I won't be there to launch the agenda process, but we can start that on Friday. Before I go, that's my report.
Great.
Thank you, John.
Any questions for John?
This student involvement just is right on, it's just directly what we've
Yeah,
been talking
that's
about
what
all
we're
year.
supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's just
Right.
excellent.
And you know, that was what I pitched the grant proposal to PCF last year, was we needed help to get that off the ground. And this one
Yeah.
just, Evelyn called me out of the blue, Navi called me from Casa Grande, and I've been working with Summer for a year. She had brought a class in before, and so it clicked. And Dave Rose is excited too. So I think there will be a meeting with Dave to talk about the school partnership, and we'll be able to use that to redesign our graduation coverage, because that's very heavy. And they have not been very helpful to us. So it's labor intensive, and if there's no buy-in from the schools, we might stop it. Most, the parents aren't buying the DVDs anymore. They
Right.
put their cameras and they shoot it that way.
Yep.
Well, actually, we should be involved right now with that whole
Yeah.
graduation project. Because it's not gonna be long before they're gonna put their material out for print, and I think that's how we got omitted the last time.
No, we actually were told we would be in the program, and then when we weren't in the program, they
Right,
said you
but
could
we
put
should
an
be
insert,
seeing the
and then we
proof
didn't.
before they submit it with our actual business card
I
and
think we'll
print.
get more attention from the vice principals if Dave Rose is behind us. So
Okay.
that's the next step. Caitlin and I will go see Dave Rose, and we'll start there.
Okay,
How far back have we like archived the graduations?
I think we go back to 2007.
That's it?
Yeah, because before that it was on VHS, and we're not doing VHS.
Really? But is there any way do you still have any of those from back then,
Oh,
before then?
we dumped a lot. I may have kept the school stuff. We didn't keep the city council meetings.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff we didn't keep.
Because I think it would have been a great idea to have just the graduation airing over a certain time, period of time, all just like from a year, from like 90s, 95.
like
yearbook
yearbook.com.
time, yeah, like,
Yeah,
just
that would be
see
interesting.
what I'm
That would
saying,
be
just
kinda
pick a weekend, so we can actually just, hey, check out,
Yeah.
your year, because a lot of people are still local, people that, they just haven't moved, but that's probably a lot of a harder of a job than we really
It's
seem
a
to
nice
see,
programming idea though, I like it too.
and just-
Especially around the weekend or the weekend before graduation. or something like
Exactly,
that.
and just relive
Well,
your,
Actually, that is happening already. Thomas is programming whole graduations. He
Fantastic.
found a bunch of them, and he's pumping them up to
Nice.
YouTube, so they'll be available on
Nice.
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, is that it?
That's it for me.
Okay, thank you, John. The next item's a consent calendar, of which we have no items. So following that is the reports of the committees, and the executive committee did meet right before this meeting, and we had an informational item with no action. Why did I lose that agenda? Oh, here it is, the executive committee agenda. There was one item under new business with no action. It was a discussion on the Access Center for Santa Rosa, and item 2 was a closed session item, which will be followed up in our item number 13 of this agenda that we're currently working through. So, anybody else wanna? There's nothing much to add, I don't believe, if anything. Okay, then we will move to Finance Committee. Was there any meeting in the last month?
No.
Okay, nominating committee did not meet as far as I know. Policies and Procedures has not met, and we need to probably, before the next meeting, have a meeting scheduled and at least plan out a timeline
Get a
for
calendar.
the issues that we should be working through, so.
Yeah, If I just could pop in on the nominating committee, it's a little light in, Eric's all by himself.
Oh, we need more
But
people.
Rachel needs another committee, and Rachel was our inspector last time, so she's familiar with the process. She's she'd be a natural.
I thought at our last meeting she agreed to be on that committee.
I had a vague memory too, but I shot that back to Jason about the minutes, and we've only got her for outreach and development approved.
Unless I missed it.
It's a
You
formality.
drinking by then?
She's not
At
here.
a business function? Of course not.
Tuesdays.
She's not here.
Okay, see, so I just said it and you kind of
I sensed
thought you heard the same thing. I think maybe it did happen, but
Okay, I missed the note on that. Other than her, was there anyone else that was being
no,
added?
I think that was the only thing. I think,
I'm gonna put that with a question mark just to confirm.
yeah.
Was, George, were you, you at some point wanted to volunteer for the outreach and development? Do I remember from?
Oh, it couldn't have happened.
Yeah,
because
actually,
it
yeah,
wasn't
I
on
was.
the last
You were.
agenda.
I wanted to, but I never got
I didn't
assigned to
remember.
it.
You never
I
got
thought it was
assigned to
just
it,
Outreach.
I think
We
it-
talked
it was
about
a
it.
Yeah.
casual
Yeah,
conversation.
we did.
but it never happened, okay.
Mhm.
Well, George also, if you notice, has not gotten any assignments yet on this committee list here, so I'm wondering if Rachel gets moved to the nominating committee, that perhaps George can come on to the outreach and development committee.
That would be awesome.
Or that's the way at
Well-
least it's reported here.
Well, you mean moved off?
I mean, we
Well,
talked
I don't
about
know,
it.
I'm just,
What am I
you
talking
know-
about?
She wants to be on that committee.
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
well, that's fine.
But if we can have four, I mean, I'd be happy to have George as well. I like.
Well, that's right, you are the, I'm sorry, you're the chair.
Well,
And
yeah,
that should
whatever.
Well,
reflect that.
It's all good.
No, it really should
Jason,
reflect it, I'm sorry.
Okay, I just went through the minutes of the last meeting, and there was nothing mentioned in there about an item of committee assignment. So even if we did have
Okay.
a casual conversation about
Well, there was for Rachel.
yeah, it wasn't an actual agenda item, so
All right.
we will put it on next
Mhm.
month's agenda and firm it in, okay?
Okay, and then I would make note for the secretary, that Davies should be, his name should be first in the outreach and development committee. Now that Davies is the chair of that committee.
Okie dokie. So, I was just gonna say, I think it'd be good to have George on it as well, because we folded the members advisory committee into outreach and development. And
Yeah,
with all of your experience as a member,
think it'd be great.
I think it'd be really cool.
would that be workable for you,
Yeah.
Rachel's?
Plus, we
opinion?
are the coolest committee.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's the way we bill
Oh.
ourselves. The committee that has the most fun.
We'd be even cooler if Cindy was
well,
on.
really, you've never been to a policies and procedures meeting,
So
obviously.
Was that called pub policies and procedures?
So-
The P and P.
P&P.
Okay,
Introduces you to that.
can we add George to the outreach development committee, or you have to go through
We don't have,
because that was not
we
a,
Well,
don't
we have-
have it on the agenda for
Yeah,
tonight.
discussion
Well,
and
we have
possible
discussion on
board
possible
committee
action on
assignment.
assignment, oh, that's
Right.
development, that's
Oh,
development.
I saw it saying committee assignment development, I didn't know if
I
that
suggested
was.
sticking an and in between assignment
Oh,
and.
assignment and development.
Okay, so are we going to
Let's
just
use that.
unilaterally assign Moran to the nominating
Yeah,
committee?
let's just.
Yeah, let's just do it because she's not here.
And put
No.
George.
well, let's
No, I'm gonna stick up
formalize,
for my,
We could formalize it all now, and I think we should, George needs to, so.
I would like to at
Do it
least
all at
formalize Rachel that she is on the outreach and development committee, because that was pretty clear.
Yeah, that was,
And I would not put her on nominating without her consent. But if George is happy to be on outreach and development, I say formalize that now, unless anyone
okay,
disagrees.
well, hold on. We were
Sorry.
in item 9 and we're doing item
One of old business.
10A
When we
here,
get
yeah.
there.
So why don't we, okay, policies and procedures did not meet, outreach and development did not meet, correct? Okay, so let's officially move out of item 9 and into 10. 10A, discussion and possible action on board committee assignment. The action then we're entertaining is to put George on outreach and development
And formalize the inclusion of Rachel as well on outreach and development.
I have a small issue with that.
Rachel.
Because that gives you a
Quorum.
majority quorum, which we
Oh,
didn't
I
want any of
see.
those committees to have.
Can't have 4 people on
and
outreach and
and
development.
I would say Rachel's presence is already
Well,
confirmed.
then
It's in the minutes.
Do we want
Policies and
to-
procedures is heavy.
Isn't
No,
there,
that means they have 5 people in the same committee.
Oh, okay, yeah, 5.
Actually, no, Rachel,
One, two,
no, we can have 4.
You can have
Four.
4 and
Okay,
Rachel's
for some
on
reason I
there.
wasn't counting her name
Oh.
down there.
So, false alarm.
Sorry.
We're all good, George and Rachel.
Okay, so Pearson's bad.
George is off of all
Just edit
committees.
him out.
Kicked me off.
Don't
the
worry,
list.
Thomas's turn's coming up, I'm sure.
Okay, so we're adding Rachel formally to outreach and
No.
development.
No, we
She's
don't
already
need
on
to.
it.
It's in the minutes. She's
Okay,
already. formally
that's
on
what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're adding George.
it. Yes. Need a motion and a second.
I will motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further
Wait a
discussion?
minute, he can't second himself, can he?
It was Neil.
No, I didn't
Oh,
know.
that was
That was
Neil,
Neil.
sorry.
Yeah,
Come on, pay attention.
that was the other George. Okay,
Do you have another one you want to do?
They said voices are the same.
I haven't thought much about it, just so Neil was that one.
Okay, we'll take that
okay,
up.
is anyone opposed to what we just did? Is anybody opposed on that, rearrangement? Okay,
I was
motion
nominating
carried.
committee, and add me to that one too.
Oh, he'll be on nominating, okay.
So you want to rephrase the motion?
So I hereby nominate George to the nominating committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
You're not supposed to say that.
What?
Yeah.
Somebody's supposed to say
Oh, sorry, I was just helping out.
that. She
Okay,
tricked
do
me
we have a
into saying
second? Did you get a second? Okay, Pearson seconds. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Yeah.
That's better.
Are we ready to move?
Yes.
Yes, no.
10B, discussion on possible action regarding promotional strategies. John?
Well, we discussed this at great length at the retreat, and it's on the agenda so we could go farther into that if you wanted to, but what I really needed was some dates for the events that we were gonna put on our calendar. Caitlin and I can do a better job preparing if we have targets. We had discussed an open house, we have a members meeting coming up, and we had discussed a fundraiser, possibly at Lagunitas. Now, on the last point, the fundraiser, I was talking to Lindy, who was the ED of the Art Center, the Petaluma Art Center. They had one last year. The Art Center had a fundraiser at Lagunitas. They made $2,000. She thought it was not worth it. It's much too much work. So in our conversation, the idea came up that maybe visibility is what we could get out of that. And we talked about maybe doing a cultural nonprofit fundraiser celebration. That could be linking up with the Art Center, with the Phoenix, Aquas, Cinnabar. I think it'd be really good for PCA to be part of that group. That was what I was basing the grant proposal on, is we're a functional part of the nonprofit community. And if the board likes that, then we could start to talk about when. For the open house, we have the Butter and Eggs Day Parade is on the 27th of April. I looked at the calendar, May 4th, Saturday, May 4th could be a target for an open house. It would give us a kind of a target date to get the lounge and all this stuff close to ready as we can. We could start publicizing it end of March, beginning of April, and we could have a nice warm housewarming. After that, we get into graduations possibly, and then we get into the summer. Which is kind of a recharge our battery moment after we get through all the productions and classes now. So those are the ideas on the table. Cindy's already suggested getting the nominating committee together so we have a date for the members meeting. But do we want to entertain this idea of a collective fundraiser at Lagunitas?
Are you, are we going straight to collective rather than just our own fundraiser based on the feedback of the Arts Center? I mean, are we looking at anybody else's fundraisers and
We could.
looking at, I mean, because I'm not so certain that the Arts Center does much more marketing than just their listserv mail list or email list, and I think we could do better than that. Especially if we chose a date that was following Butter and Egg Day and use that data, kind of market it.
What would the goal be of the fundraiser? I mean, obviously, other than
Raise
to
funds.
raise. Yeah, no,
Well, somebody
I
had
mean,
to
what
say
is the, I mean, do we have a goal? Do we have a financial goal? Do we have
I
one
One of the things I confronted in the grant is we are privileged in relation to nonprofits. But we are gonna be depleting our capital expense fund.
Mhm.
We could make that the goal. I think we would need more time than May 4th for the Lagunitas, an event. That's pretty large. You need 500 people to really make it a blast, and you need to work that.
How many attendees did they have at the art center?
I don't know.
Why don't
What
we
about
do?
Schollenberger's fundraiser, how did they do?
They did great. I mean, I don't know. There's different levels of success. I don't know that there were 500 people. In fact, technically, I don't think legally they can accommodate more than 300.
Okay. In the beer garden?
Yeah. Well, yeah, in the beer garden area, not with the stage area. That's a whole separate thing. You're talking, I mean, you know, the outdoor lawn
Yeah.
thing, not that section, but just the beer garden.
Beer garden.
Yeah, we were told 300 max.
Okay, that's-
And I think when we did the Schollenberger Shindig, we actually went,
Close.
it might have been a little over technically. What we had to do is, you know, as it got a little crowded, some people would leave and, you know, come in and out in shifts. But I guess my point is that not only is 500 more than you can accommodate, you know, 300 is packed there.
Yeah,
That's
well-
actually a good number.
In terms of funds?
In terms of funds, I never got the final count, but it was fairly significant. I mean, it was, you know, I think we had a minimum suggested $25 donation or something. In fact, actually, it was required. You had to pay that on the way in. I'd have to get numbers on it, but you know, if you multiply that out by 300. Oh, plus the beer sales and things. So, you know, what Lagunitas does is they'll actually donate the beer or the proceeds raised from the beer sales. So you could also do a hybrid. You can give some away as a treat, and then you can, you know, maybe the first one's free and then people have to buy more, and then 100% of the proceeds goes to the cause. So it's really a great place to do it because it's free. You don't have to pay for the space. And you have to bring in food if you want to do that. I've done a couple events there where we had, you know, various vendors come in, and if you've got a good enough buzz and a good enough forecast on getting a crowd, it's pretty easy to get food vendors there.
Why wouldn't George let people order off the menu?
Oh, they don't do that. That's the catch. They're not.
They close the food service?
Yeah. The whole catch with doing this at Lagunitas is you can't do it during their normal business deal. It's Monday or Tuesdays. And so the restaurant's closed. You don't have any access to that stuff. You've got to bring your own. But it's really not a problem. It's a great place to do it. Everyone likes it. And if you can get bands to come and play, you know, that makes it more festive.
It seems like May would be a fairly aggressive date for putting something like this together, and, you know, because I think my question is, we don't have a passionate issue like Schollenberger is, or some others where we can really draw a lot of people. And so basically, if we were to do some sort of fundraiser event, I think that's exactly it. We should, you know, we turn it into a band event or something where there's a draw other than just the name of PCA, and that might be, you know, a September, October event or somewhere down the road. I love the idea of the lounge open house, the lounge party, you know, the lounge warming party, so to speak, because that's something that could attract some press, and you know, we can have a fun time, get some music in there, you know, turn the lights down a little bit low, and kind of get a sense of, you know, that we're really trying to create a new vibe there, and that could be easily done, and that could also improve our profile for any sort of fundraiser, you know, that could be later on in the year or something like that.
What about a talent show?
talent show could be fun.
Like a
Like
Petaluma's Got Talent.
I like that idea.
Yeah, like Petaluma.
Which is that could cater for everybody.
I was thinking
Right.
karaoke night.
Karaoke night,
But-
I mean,
but
oh,
talent show
oh,
makes sense.
karaoke night, you're talking, you're speaking my language. But,
Not mine.
but, I mean, something like that, because that could engage a lot of
Right,
different genres.
right,
Mhm.
We can air
Yeah,
what we do, what we have, and we can have like, you know, the mayor do it, you know,
Yeah.
so the
Right.
guests
right.
have, you know, some, we can probably just have someone, a celebrity turn it, you know, get.
We could probably get a celebrity MC of some sort, or try to get a celebrity MC and then get a bunch of
Grab,
High
even
profile
the,
people
even
and-
the coach for the Little League coach,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
one of the
coach.
kids, you know, have,
Uh-huh.
you know, like, be the, you know, the celebrity guests, you
That's an
know,
interesting
you know,
idea.
like, we'll just make it kinda fun for everybody,
Right,
I
right.
think.
And then we could do like a PCA karaoke night at Lagunitas and all,
Oh,
you know,
I'm all over that.
and then all the pros, you know, then we're not really trying to push ourselves as a fundraising event,
Mhm.
even though all the funds would,
mhm. Benefit.
would benefit PCA, so.
Cause we're all
that's-
about
That's a good
showcasing
idea,
talent,
yeah.
you know,
What do you think?
that's what we need.
Well, I agree with Eric that we couldn't pull it off in May.
Right.
But I also see that we have a year where we want to really rebrand PCA. If the lounge party is the launch of that year, we melt it
Right.
all summer, and we crown it with a big event, we might want to combine it with the members meeting in September and have it at Lagunitas. The other thing is,
Mhm.
all this started in
That's a
my
good
head
one.
because I wanted to get Caitlin and introduce her to Lagunitas,
Mhm.
let them in. And their booking is done way in advance.
Yeah, it is.
These Mondays and Tuesdays are very choice, and, you know, if you had 5 different fundraisers, that's not a good time to do it. So we have to pick and choose our
Mhm.
time, but maybe the members meeting would be it.
And that was the original, I think the original discussion for this
Mhm.
was that it was really going to be a members meeting.
Mhm.
That would be our target then, so we get.
Or new members, you know, we could always say members meeting and those that are interested in,
Well, we spent all
supporting
summer
Members
trying to get
slash
new members.
recruitment.
Yeah, and then of course we air the show forever.
Okay, so what kind of direction do you want from us?
Shall we target May 4th for the lounge party?
For the lounge party,
If it's
the
not May
lounge warming.
Yeah, the lounge warming. That would be the soonest I think we could do it. I would like to check and see if there's other things going on in Petaluma. But if we lock that, Caitlin and I can start, and the whole staff can start getting the office ready for it. And then I think the nominating committee needs the calendar for when the members meeting is. And then we go to Lagunitas and see if we can.
May 4th.
Okay,
Now, that could be just by Cinco de Mayo is the, you know, the very next day,
Mhm.
so we might be battling heads
Mhm.
against sort of
That's-
Cinco de Mayo parties.
Oh, yeah.
Good point.
Major party, pretty weekend.
we also
Yeah.
have the Petaluma Film Fest that night
Oh,
at Mystic, and I know my school's doing a giant, the Day Into the Oaks is the next day.
the what is?
Day Into the Oaks.
Which is what?
It's a giant open house, community open house for the people to
Uh-huh.
come find out all the programs the community college does.
Well, is there a possibility to tie it into the film fest? So basically, it's like, you know, there's a film fest in town, and we're the video and film
Right.
media center.
Makes sense.
And what you were saying, Eric, about low lighting made me think Friday night might be the night for this.
Friday night. Friday night, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
that would
have
be
to
the-
talk to Mike Trainer though, because I think he does that,
He does something,
he already does something like that at
Mhm.
Tres Hombres.
right, he does, that's right, I do. Friday nights kind of would be fun, because then you could do something like, you could turn it into, you know, if it's successful, you know, once a month Friday night or something like that, you know, I don't know, or quarterly, I don't know.
Oh, when you see that TV screen, we're gonna have movie screenings. People
Uh-huh.
just sitting around watching
Okay.
the DVD, it's gonna be fun.
Okay.
Okay, so I will work with the first part of May, and I'll keep you all in the loop. Do we wanna create a subcommittee for parties?
Well, maybe send it back to, outreach and development to.
Okay, let's set up an outreach and development meeting to cinch this, and I'll have more facts within this framework.
You know, one other point on, you know, some sort of either talent or karaoke or something like that. An event at Lagunitas is usually expensive. It means it's pretty much all adults. You could also do something at one of the, you know, the Veterans Hall. You could do it in Walnut Park and the bandstand. I mean, there are other options for doing things.
have we ever done anything with the Phoenix or the Mystic?
Yes.
And how does that work out?
They're 100% behind us, they'll bend their backs to make it happen. There are people in Petaluma who won't go, because the Phoenix just has that vibe, but the people who do come out are
The
good.
Mystic could be
Haunted.
fun.
Right.
The Mystic could be
that's-
fun,
The Mystic charges though.
even for like stuff like this, if they had an open night, they would charge.
Oh, what do you mean?
Like if
Taking
they had
the
a
Mystic
dead night.
Theater?
Yeah, the Mystic Theater.
Well, if it's dead, that's the only way you're gonna get in if it's a
Right,
dead
of
night,
course.
and then you book it.
will
I did
say,
it once. It's not super expensive, but it's
Uh-huh.
like it was $500.
If you have everything set up for the film fest the night before, you did something the day afterwards, it might be a lot cheaper because you're not turning the room. Because you'll see if you can talk to Mike about doing the projector rental
You mean at the Mystic?
of the Mystic.
They do the film festival there.
It's on May 4th.
It's on May 4th,
Yes.
the same date that we're talking
The film
about.
festival is May 4th. Well, that would kind of lend itself to having it in the afternoon before, or the
or
next
after.
day, which is Cinco de Mayo.
Maybe it should be the next week.
I'm pleased with the buy-in and the lights going off. I think that we should take it to outreach and development soon.
Okay, so take open house off of May 4th. Okay,
I'm leaning to May 3rd, Friday, right now.
a Friday night?
Could be.
Because, you know, the open house,
A good Russian
it's,
holiday.
we invite our friends and existing members and new people, and it's cozy and it's more
Yeah.
intimate.
Do we,
It doesn't have to be huge. The people who come just have to really have a good
do
time.
we have a sense of where our members live roughly? Are more of them on the west side versus the east
We
side?
have a lot on the west side,
More on the west side?
I would say, but that's off the top of my head, I'd have to check.
I'm just thinking about that in terms of getting people to come to the members event ultimately, and whether that should have a bearing on whether it should be at Lagunitas or somewhere on the west side. Anyway,
But I do think Friday night is probably better than a Saturday night for that event.
We're- Got consensus on a Friday night. We also have, I think, I sense consensus on combining the Lagunitas and members meeting.
we didn't have total consensus. There are other people that, I think Neil suggested Walnut Park or Phoenix, right, or something like that.
Well, or the community, or the Veterans Hall or
No,
something like
I'm
that.
sorry, the Lagunitas part was up for grabs. What I was saying was the combination of a fundraiser.
Oh, yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Karaoke night or
Yeah.
talent night or
I
something.
mean, the only negatives I'll say about, because I think Lagunitas is a great place to do it, one of the reasons is it's free. And the other reason is they actually give you beer to sell to make money on, so that's beyond free, it's like you actually, you make money, and they're into it. And the beer isn't bad either, it's great. But the only downside I would say is simply fatigue. I've done events there where I've heard people say, oh, another event at Lagunitas, just because there's so many of them now
So
all
many.
the time. It was novel at first, and I was like, oh, another one. And that was also why I was wondering about, how many people are on the west versus east, because those things add up when you're thinking about, okay, I've already been there another time, oh, it's over on the east side. Not to talk myself out of it, I think Lagunitas is great. Those are the few areas of reservation I would have.
The other thing is, my only reservation is if we're gonna make it a members meeting or something, where we have some of our younger members that are under 21, if we're only serving alcohol, are we gonna have a problem with that night?
No, we would bring food too.
Yeah. Okay, as long as we can bring under 21 in there.
I mean,
Yeah.
to do a citywide talent thing
Citywide talent, right.
would be.
Petaluma's got
That would
talent.
be really cool.
That'd be really
It
fun.
would be really awesome, and then we are also getting
The funds,
the
right.
And-
Yeah,
funds,
exactly.
and
And
also
that-
it's PCA,
That's gonna be a
that's
bigger
exactly
draw
what it's-
than
Yeah.
the way we've done it before.
Yeah, a PCA fundraiser is not a draw, unfortunately. It's it is for us.
We need a gimmick.
Need a gimmick.
Well,
And
Because
that's-
Need a
talent,
gimmick.
I think a talent show is great.
Talent show is great.
I agree.
Now, are
So
we gonna
let's-
have
let's-
prizes?
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Hell
Oh,
yes.
free
We can
PCA
just
membership.
have, we can go around businesses and say, hey, this is what we're doing.
I know, we've
If
done
you're,
it.
if you're behind
That's
this,
why I
put
asked.
your
This
name
is
on
the
it,
program.
in the program, this is what if you can donate something, it's gonna be in the pricing.
Oh,
point.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know,
That's
so
what
I
we
think-
do.
That's
That's it.
the way to do it.
Good.
More of the trophies.
All right, so do you wanna send that to, outreach, because that'll be in the fall, right? At some
It'll be in
point,
the fall.
So there's development.
Last year's members meeting was in October,
Right.
usually they're the end of September.
Yeah.
They
The
don't
question
listen-
then is, can you really do any member meeting business
you
at
using
an event
tape
like
tonight?
that?
Yeah,
Kinda hard,
Are you,
you know, you're doing the talent show, you know,
Are we gonna do a luminarian thing again?
well, I don't know, well, maybe this is the new luminarian, or, you know.
All right, sounds like we
This
got
gets
our
the
work
whole
cut out for us.
Mhm.
Sorry?
Yeah.
I mean, if you really pull it off.
Yeah,
you
we
could-
could have it-
You
we
could
could have
fill
it.
up, you could pull 500 to 1,000 people or something.
Yeah.
Oh, you certainly could.
Maybe whoever wins the talent show gets a free show.
Right.
There you go.
And John has content for forever.
There you go,
Free membership.
exactly.
No, and you
yeah.
could do like a,
Blackmail material forever, it's
You
true.
could be the mayor for the day or something, you
Yeah.
know.
we
something
could even
like
start with a 13
All right.
and under category.
This
or
is going
something
to
like that.
offline-ville, I
Oh,
think.
take this down. Yeah,
We could
take it
intersperse
offline,
like
as they say.
political rants in
Yeah,
between
it
the
is.
talent
Or
stuff, you know,
offline,
so
so I
people
just
get
going
booed
to-
off the stage.
Like it.
All right, make it fun.
okay.
thank you.
Anything else you need from us, John, on that?
I have enough to run with.
Okay, you run. Item 11A, under new business, discussion and possible action on PCA participation in the Butter and Egg Parade. And,
I did a little research, the parade is on the 27th, the theme is Legends of Petaluma. The deadline for the application, early bird, is March 1st, regular is March 11th.
So, I'd like to make a motion.
what's the theme again?
Legends.
Legends, let's see, I got it here. Legends of Petaluma, dash, past and present.
Okay,
We'll be having
all
a
right,
roller.
so,
We'll be on the
first of all, I would like to hear what your recommendation is, John. I know you had some staff concerns when you and I talked about it.
Well, no, actually, I've kept a firewall between the staff and the float. And we are gonna be covering it, we're looking forward to it, it's a good way to train, new volunteers. It's fun, we've got, for the 2 years now, we've had, Natalie, who used to work with us, comes on and does the announcing, and it's been very effective. So the staff is fine on that, they're not gonna get involved. It was really more out of the outreach and development discussion of not doing a float this year that we brought to the retreat and broached that subject. The argument was it's labor intensive and maybe it's not effective. Or cash, payoff is less than it's worth. So I'm really out of that discussion. I do get dragged into helping. I know how it gets to be a crunch right at the last minute for the float, so.
It doesn't have to be a float. What I'm thinking of is, I'm thinking about this open house. And this could be as simple as walking our banner
Mm-hmm.
with shirts on. And, I don't
Yeah.
know, picket signs that say save the date, open house May 3rd, whatever. I don't know.
Well, we talked about a bunch.
I made
No,
that up, I just pulled that out of my hat, but, you know,
We could get really
our
big.
banner and another banner with save the date, open house.
So at the retreat, we talked about other things that we could be doing during the parade to get a lot of exposure for PCA. We talked about banners being where all the announcements are made, making sure that we're taking as much footage as we can, more people with cameras, making sure that when we video, we get the PCA logo in there, so there's a lot of promotion there. It hadn't been mentioned, as I recall, we were talking about not doing a float and doing these other things in lieu of that. I don't recall mentioning us walking rather than a float. I think that's fine. I think that would be cool. I'd be happy to do that. That wasn't what I was hearing at the retreat, but I'm open to that in lieu of a float.
Yeah, I'm not up for doing a float.
Yeah.
What if we did a very simple float, and I wanted to look at it, like, what if we did something like rented a one of those LCD TV screen.
Oh,
That's
my
been on the
God.
table every year
There-
for 3,
Would-
4 years. It's
Would
too
you chair
expensive.
this committee?
Let me find out what it cost.
Too much sunlight.
No, they make them visible now.
Daylights,
Like in
For good one,
New
I
York,
looked at
those
this for
little
good ones,
marquee
they're
vans that drive
expensive to
around.
rent for
Okay.
ones that are gonna be visible.
yeah.
The idea with the float is you're kind of into the theme, the legends. Caitlin and I want to go to the Downtown Association with a firm position. Okay, PCA is not going to have a float this year, but we want to be front and center in this
Mhm.
parade. We want to be on the award, the judges stand. And there's a combination between what Jason and Cindy just said is you had people walking around with banners
Mm-hmm.
with cameras. I mean, that was
Mhm.
something that we fell down on when we had the cameras on and they're not filming. They
Right.
fake people out. So if the board were, each of you had a camera and you were walking out shooting
All with
footage.
the camera.
Yeah,
Oh,
that would
yeah.
be kinda cool.
Now, do you wanna do it in the
You?
parade
Yeah.
or on the street? That's the other question. You could just be part of the whole
Yeah,
festivities.
I think being part of the street, and then you could have T-shirts that say "Smile, you're on PCA," and you know, and just have the cameras, and then that becomes our presence
Mhm.
there, rather than a float, a traditional float.
I used to shoot with a camera, with the regular video camera, and actually have my other SLR, my still camera, with this one, and just kind of shoot at the same time. So when I edit them,
Wow.
I would involve the shot that I would get and put it into the video itself, kind of like
That's
a
cool.
slideshow.
And,
So you wouldn't
Oh,
lose
go
the
ahead,
picture.
Oh, I was just gonna add another thing that we mentioned, but I think it got lost in the shuffle, was the idea of co-sponsoring a float. So that would be another option if part of the issue was expense and manpower, if we teamed up with some other community nonprofit, or maybe a couple of them, you know, that would be another option. But that takes coordination with another party, we'd still be, you know, having, you know,
Yeah.
some obligation in terms of float involvement. But that would be sort of a middle ground position.
but I wanted to run with this other idea that was on the table, the idea of high visibility board members out with cameras.
Yeah.
Shooting footage that we will premiere at our
Yeah.
housewarming.
Yeah,
Come to the housewarming and see yourself.
I have a I mean, we can put a GoPro on the.
I like
doors.
that. That's so simple. No float, just cameras.
High
Yeah.
visibility.
How many
PCA,
GoPros do we have?
To go or pigs to
I think we have two. I
Two.
think.
I have my own. I can actually get. I have a chest mount and a head mount and
Oh,
everything.
that's fine.
I love them.
I have my own video camera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that could be the plan, and I could go to the downtown association saying, this, we're gonna be high visibility, but you can help us by putting us into the program as a partner or a truck.
Two of these
And
facing
then
out.
we,
and
So
then
how do we be
you
visible?
film,
Just
so people can see
T-shirts, or we
themselves
have
right at the moment
signs,
that-
or-
Right, if you're
combination.
walking, you have to, in the rules, I don't remember seeing this in the rules before, but
Oh, I see.
this year it does say that if you're
Yeah, I think
walking,
it'd be more
everybody has to be
intimidating to
wearing
themselves in real
The same.
the same T-shirt, or there has to be some uniformity in the,
Uniforms,
in the,
in the
yeah, uniformity in the uniforms.
Do we have any idea what other people are gonna do for floats? Any ideas been out there? I mean, how many legends are there in Petaluma?
How about if you just get a big chicken? A chick. That's
my
a
only
legend.
other experience
Big
is
risk
with Occupy, they did a huge chicken and they won an award last year.
Really?
But they're working on legends of that nature.
okay, so if we wanted to work the legends piece into it, couldn't we try and get like Joe DeVito to video with us and some PCA legends?
We certainly could. I'm thinking, but I want to just stick with the idea of float or no float. If we don't have a float and we get the buy-in from the Downtown Association, they could be announcing, PCA is all over with cameras, say hi to them, get your face on TV.
Okay,
They could do that more often than if our float went by.
Yeah.
They could stick it into all the
Yeah.
dead space.
well, they're only gonna announce it while we're right in front of the stand, so.
If we're afloat, but if we're not afloat, if we're part of the team putting on the
Right.
event,
Yeah.
Okay,
They
I
could
see
willing
what
to
you're
do that.
they
saying.
could say, and watch out for those PCA cameras, they're all over the place today and it's gonna be on TV, and say hi, and
What would we say is the
Okay.
minimum number of bodies that we would need to be effective? Because it's not
10.
gonna,
I was gonna say 10 also.
10.
oh,
10 would be
really?
minimum.
You think I think that we need more than that, no?
That would be about every 10 floats or 10 entries. They're about, what, maybe 180?
I mean, there's
or
so much,
Well,
there's so many people, we're gonna
And
get
there's,
lost.
and if you went for the cutest chick and the early morning stuff and the drunken parties afterwards, and the Phoenix always has free make-your-own cupcakes. There's a lot going around town.
I guess
It's
what I'm
color.
getting at is I wonder what we could do to draw more members to help us out, cause I feel like we want like 50 people or something, I mean, a big.
We would outnumber the parade.
No,
No,
the
cause we're not
parade
gonna
is
be
long.
in the parade.
What would you do
Right.
with 50 people?
We're gonna be like,
I mean, a whole bunch, most of them would have to be outside at that.
yeah, I mean, are we,
Doing the gardens and the,
yeah, I was
in the
thinking
crowds.
like dispersed throughout the event. So it's just, you're seeing them everywhere, you can't miss these PCA guys.
But not march our banner through?
Oh, do that too.
Yeah,
Do you think we should wear like?
because then we can get a
some-
full route of
Yeah, have the
filming.
board members doing that, but, you know, we had volunteers last time, we had probably 10 members show up.
We've
didn't
got 15 new high school students who are
we? Yeah,
playing.
and instead of spending money on a float, we buy more shirts.
That's what I was thinking, but we should buy
Maybe we have
buy like
giveaways.
bright,
I don't know.
We've got a lot
loud,
of
like
shirts.
fluorescent shirts, so we stand out like sore thumbs anywhere we stand. I think that's
Well,
what we should do.
they've already been designed, right?
It's pretty nice. It's got a lively, colorful scheme. It's black t-shirt.
Oh, it's
People-
black, okay.
Which on a hot day is.
So,
It's more
Ooh.
flatter than that.
backing away from the
That's nice.
no float
More
idea for a
filmers
second,
Well, for people that are a little,
obviously the biggest media legend in Petaluma is Bill Sobranis and the wrist wrestling tournament that
That's
he
a good-
created.
yeah.
So I don't know whether we're close enough to that or whether somebody else is gonna pull that idea. But the idea would be to have maybe a flatbed truck where people are doing
Two arm wrestlers.
doing wrist wrestling.
Actually, we should have two people,
What's the legend?
actually,
Have you
I
seen
don't think
some of
anybody
our-
remembers that.
Have you seen some of our past,
No.
okay,
And that's the problem.
Oh, I
you
guess
need to
it's-
see a couple of videos.
It's not gonna work. Now, I
Okay,
also.
get out the flatbed truck one, get out the.
Okay, so I also remember one, and this is just terrible, I knew a guy as I was growing up, and, John knew him too, or knew his grandson, who was actually tarred and feathered in the 30s for being a labor organizer in Petaluma. It's a great story, but I don't know, it's kind of a downer, so.
There's a legend.
It's a legend, and it's gritty, but never mind.
You could go for something that's a lot lighter, like, you know, a clip of the world's ugliest dog contest winners.
That would probably be a little more humorous.
Well, I would be in favor of what we had discussed at the last meeting, which is just really making our presence around shooting it and being a part of it more important than participating in it. And I think we would get more bang for the buck that way at this point, unless, you know, Matt can come up with some amazing, you know, LCD screens that we could get for free, and, you know, and that would be a different situation. But I think it makes us look smarter too. Doesn't just make us feel like another float. It's like, wow, PCA isn't part of the community. It's filming the community.
Right.
It's in the action. It's on the dais. It's not, you know, down on the ground.
Do
so
they
to speak.
expect a contribution from us, monetary
Yeah.
contribution? If
Entry
we're going to
fee.
be sponsor,
Entry fee.
just, well, just,
Nonprofit organization entry fees.
We could explore that.
If we're
we-
walking it, we have to pay, right, even though we don't have a float?
right,
Well, we're covering it.
but
Right.
we wanna,
No.
do we wanna be a sponsor of the Butter and Egg State Parade and get our name in all
I
the
don't
programs?
Maybe,
and-
maybe by,
to.
by filming it, we're a
Just
sponsor?
by freebie, yeah. The
We
freebie.
have been filming it, we've given them support, we rushed the edits so that they can have it at their volunteer party, we do the audio visual mounting of
So
their
maybe they're
volunteer
cool.
party, we've given a lot.
Well, that should be enough for a
It would be a
sponsorship.
good way to step up. Now, I also should say, you know, of the 30,000 people that are there, maybe it's 6,000 from Petaluma, 10,000. And there's a lot of out-of-towners who just don't
Right.
register us.
It's a
Right.
blur that day.
So I think we'd be more ingrained if the announcers were constantly plugging the camera crews roaming in the crowd.
Yeah,
I think we should also we need to find a way to emphasize the online, like PC, like YouTube, like, you know, our channel on there, because not a lot of people get our channel outside of Petaluma, I mean, not just us.
Yeah.
Does the shirt have like any PetalumPCA.com, pod.tv, or
I can't remember, I should have worn it tonight.
I don't think it does, I think it just says PCA.
yeah, I think that should be the way to do it, because a lot of people come out of town and
Well-
Yeah.
I think the signs, if we are to carry signs, should have that, just like go to PCA.tv, because the majority of that don't have.
Well, the other thing that's nice about it is it brands what we do a bit better. It sort of solves some of the next item.
Well, we've done a lot of messaging around the Butternecks. I think we've got, our learning curve is we're pretty high up, so we could tone something in. I think the shirts, there's a certain elegance to the black, and I like the vibrant kind of PCA, it's nice logo. The font is great. But maybe we need some, really colorful hat or.
Well,
feelers.
specifically, he's talking about having the URL.
Yeah, but I mean, that's
So,
part of the
yeah,
messaging.
but that's
which
gonna be hard to see anyway on a shirt, I mean, there's just so much stuff going on that day that.
Just even
Right.
Yeah.
PCA.tv.
That's what I mean.
Just
That's
just
the
yeah,
URL.
just that's it. That's it.
You don't have to do HTTP
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
www. You don't have
Yeah.
to do that.
That's it.
CA.tv.
And that I think goes farther than actually just
So maybe we're talking about a hat, a fluorescent hat with,
yeah, exactly.
Sombreros.
Sombrero. Yeah, exactly. There you're talking.
that's a legendary.
Legendary,
Those ears. Not in the form of a chicken.
Yeah, those.
Sombrero with a chicken on top.
Very good. We have plenty to run on.
So is this?
Okay, so
Oh,
we had,
It's a lot of stuff. Is this an
Are-
R&D thing?
are we in agreement that we're gonna submit the early bird fee and run with banner and cameras and that's it?
No.
We don't need an early bird fee.
No, I think there's
We
still
don't have-
confusion. Cindy's still thinking we're actually in the parade. And I think there's been a disconnect because we've been talking about doing both and we haven't really finalized that. So I totally understand what she's talking about and why she's asking that. It's because she's thinking we're still gonna walk the parade, with carrying
Right, that's what I
banner.
heard, was that we're going to walk the route
no,
and
we're-
film as
well,
well.
No,
We're
I was
gonna be
proposing that we don't-
roving cameras and.
Roving camera teams, then that could be announced in between floats, like 100 times that day. Look
So
out
no
for
one-
the
Right, I
machine.
thought that there was in addition
Yeah,
to
no,
our,
That's what I thought too.
Okay, it could be. The options then are either or both.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we, for one, we have limited people. We wanna make sure we got the cameras covered, so maybe, when's the deadline again to do the entry?
Early bird is March 1st, regular is March 11th. And you can do it after, the prices go
Why
up.
don't we ask if, because of our commitments to this event over the years and what we're doing in this time, if we can just walk it, carrying a banner with a few board members, and if we can staff it enough with members and whatnot, maybe we can do both. So we have PCA, maybe 3 board members carrying a banner like we did last time. And then in addition to that, we've got the rest of the board, plus staff and members doing cameras. And then we've got a
I'm willing to
barrage.
talk to Marie. Marie is very workable.
Oh, you mean about?
Because if budget
That's
isn't an
great.
issue,
I think she would bend over for us.
if budget's not the issue, then it's just about human resources. And I think 3 people running the banner is not a big deal.
Okay,
I feel that we would probably be better served just being roving cameras and not putting just a,
Not do both.
because that float is not a real float, it's a little bit of a, especially with the
Then
kind
it's
of
not a
floats that
float.
go.
It's not a float, it's
I
a
understand,
banner.
but it's an
and
entry.
And
But what I'm
additional
saying is-
cameras, Eric.
Okay, I understand, but I'm saying is it's an entry, and an entry is gonna be perceived as a float or an entry. And rather than be that way, let's put all our energy and resources into really doing a dynamic job of doing roving cameras and making our presence as roving chroniclers of this event be the brand that we project during this parade, rather than just another people walking down
Well,
the street.
what would be the problem with doing both?
Yeah, I don't
Well,
understand that
no, I think
either.
what Eric
Because
is
when
saying,
you- when
we
you see
dissipate
like-
our concentrated energy.
You dissipate your concentrated energy, and then if you're not gonna do a real float and you're still walking,
Then it looks
it doesn't
hokey.
look all that good. It doesn't give you a good, it's not a good reflection on organization, if we have a couple people on a banner.
Yeah, I totally
I don't
We
understand.
could be above that and be energizing the crowd, because we're taking photos, I mean, we're.
So this is similar to what I hear sometimes with companies that don't exhibit at trade shows if they can't do more than a 10 by 10. You know, they're running through budget cycles or whatnot, and they prefer, you know what, I'm not gonna do the show at all if I can't do a 20 by 20 booth. There's some logic to that, because
Or their booth is empty.
yeah, because there's some logic to that, because suddenly you've gone from, you know, a bigger presence to a smaller presence. It can give a bad marketing impression. The other way of looking at that, though, is that some exposure is better than no exposure. And yes, we'll have exposure on the periphery, and that's all great, but having that plus carrying a banner through the parade, it just gives you more exposure of the brand. So I totally understand your point, Eric. I don't entirely agree with it, and it's a marketing thing that you can see both sides to. I've gone to plenty of trade shows where users go, how come the company didn't show up? Now I'm gonna talk to the competitor, and it's simply because the company thought they were too good to do a small booth, but they couldn't afford a larger one. So I don't quite, I understand that argument, I don't quite agree with it. If the broader point is that we can't do an effective job covering the event because we don't have enough people to carry a banner and do the cameras, I'm with you there. But if we had the resources to do both, I think it's just more exposure. So that's just my thoughts on it. I don't feel really strongly, but.
And I like the idea of having the announcer do multiple announcements, watch for the people with the cameras. I think it's a bonus to have the banner and a few people carrying the cameras, because you've seen the reaction we get from the crowd when their eyes are on the parade. The eyes aren't looking for
Right.
the cameras. If a camera happens to get in their face, yeah, they're gonna act it.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you know, you're gonna have not gonna have more opportunities with walkers in the parade route. That's my only point. That's where I'm
I
coming
agree, Cindy. My only thing that'll come down to again is if we don't have the resources to do both, and if there's a cost to doing both. So if we are gonna be charged by carrying banners and walking the parade, I'd be less inclined to do it.
If we register early bird, non-commercial, it's $42 to get in the parade.
So it's a moot point.
Or should enter 3 times.
But I don't agree that we're devaluing PCA somehow by not having a float but just having a banner. I don't know.
You have to understand what you are gonna accomplish with that presence in the parade, because my experience of the parade is 3 hours of downtime, 10 minutes racing around, over, and I always feel burned out and cheated. If I were directing a roving cruise, I wouldn't put my resources into that.
You wouldn't have to.
Okay, then you take that part of it, and I'll be responsible for the other. I'll take responsibility.
And so figure out how many you need for the banner.
Co-chairs? All right,
Okay.
So I would.
you got a promise to do.
I have a couple ideas. One
I
for
think
I have a source we might wanna
Make it good.
do a development thing for an LED screen. I think we should pursue. But I also wanted to talk about what if we advertised our filming locations better and maybe spend a little bit money in those by elevating them, putting the cameraman on a lift that was decorated with PCA or scaffolding. And so that we had several scaffold locations or a camera crane that was very obviously PCA'd.
I like
And we
that.
set those
We've
out
done
so
that.
that we,
Well, we have our team usually.
I know, but the
tries to
team is,
get a-
the team is
It needs
ground
to be
level.
raised.
Just the one,
though.
we got
that's
a
on
camera
Western
on-
Avenue.
No, we have had raised cameras
We got
because,
cameras up on the.
But have they been branded
But
PCA?
yeah, branded.
Yeah,
logos.
We got PCA banners
Big
on the table.
banners.
But just one.
But I'm thinking,
But-
if I put up like a 16-foot scaffold with a camera person on top of it and wrapped it with PCA banners, see us, watch us, come check out the parade.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That solves the concern I have with not having enough bannerage.
Or renting a man lift, a crane arm to go over the audience and we're wrapping it with PCA banners.
okay, so then
Signage.
you could be in charge of, because that's filming crew stuff you're talking about.
But I mean, I
You
think that's
take,
another way to show us.
you get that information, you get it to John, and then for me and George, if you can add a jumbotron or whatever it is
How about a flyover?
There's
to our banner.
There's a company in Roanoke Park that manufactures them. And so I'd like to see what if we could co-brand and see if they could sponsor us, like all can use them.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't think the TV screen in the parade is worth the effort to try to make work, but I like the crane idea. It could be at the corner of Washington and Kentucky, over by the bank parking lot. It could be very high, you get that turn, which is beautiful. And that's a quieter area. The other areas are packed,
Big banners.
and banners on there.
you're gonna have to get a permit from the city.
That's the work to do, but I like the high camera. The other idea is you get one of those Hollywood, what do they call them, snakes or no?
You want to do something really funny? I just threw it out kind of as a joke, but
Roll it along with.
it's not that expensive. This guy called me actually during the campaign to do it, to have an airplane fly by with a banner hanging. It's $200. I know it's crazy.
The banner will cost
It
It was a big hit when the Little League kids came back.
That was it?
No, they'll go back and forth.
Okay, can we don't need to work on the details here, but can we
No.
agree to submit the application for the small walking crew that George and I have agreed to manage, relieving John from having to do anything with that, anything at all?
Do we have a motion to approve that?
That's her
Did
job.
someone making a motion? All right.
I don't know, there's really a motion as much as just, we have some things to go back and come.
No,
return
she
back
wants
meeting.
to, I think she wants a decision on whether
I
we're
think
gonna
a
enter.
decision would be good.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, right now,
To spend
we need a
42 bucks?
motion to agree to submit the application for the parade, which George and I will,
Does anyone strongly disagree with the idea?
I'm sort of with Eric on this one. I think just a banner,
Really?
when there are all of
Looks
these,
weak.
when there are all these floats that have themes that fit the theme
Makes
of
us
the
look
parade,
lame.
That's
which
not
is legends, unless we're doing something that is within that theme, we just look like we're walking with a banner.
no,
I don't
I'm
get
telling you,
it
they're gonna
myself.
pay attention to the cameras. The cameras are gonna be what they're,
Right,
these
but
people-
in other words, there's cameras walking along with the banner, that's a media,
And
you know what, we don't even have to carry the banner, the t-shirts alone, with just PCA.TV and
Well, if we're
cameras in
gonna
our
walk,
hands.
we might
Well,
as well have the
the
banner.
only
I mean,
way
it's-
that I think that could work is if you have a huge banner that does say "Smile, you're on PCA TV," because
Yeah.
that will really get attention.
Here we go,
from
now we
people.
got you.
Just one big banner,
All right, he's on
two-sided
board.
banner that you carry vertically down the line where it says "Smile, you're on PCA
Yeah.
TV," and then you have people carrying things, and then that's it.
Vertically.
And if
that's-
Matt can pull off getting, a sponsor on some big LEDs, then we could put that in the back, two of them on the back of the truck, and people could see real time their reaction. That would be an interesting.
Oh, now we're back to
Right,
this
but
float.
there's no reason we couldn't do a banner,
That's a
smile,
float.
you're on
That's a
PCA
float.
dot.
Flow right
Yeah,
there.
now we're back to the float.
Well, I think that's, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna, do it.
So there's no middle
There's
ground.
no middle ground, but at least have a
So
big
you're
banner
the
that
guy-
says "Smile, you're on PCA TV."
So you would not exhibit in a 10x10, would you?
Well, I think that that's,
I don't think it's
that
that
metaphor is wrong,
aptitude.
because we don't have any competition for one, so I don't have to worry about that, and we don't have, customers, we're just looking to make a brand statement.
I just wish there was some, legends theme that fits in, last year on the float, we stuck that, the life,
Well,
preserver in the.
I wanna go back to why we decided not to do a float, because it seems like everyone's forgotten that. We actually talked about this at length, and the decision is that it was a diversion of resources, that it wasn't very effective, it didn't give us a great return, and we could do something that would have a bigger impact. So, it sounds like all of that thinking has just gone awry, simply because I guess no one wanted to agree to a lackluster appearance in the parade. So if we're gonna make a decision on doing an entry, I guess not only do we have to decide now then if it's a float versus just a Small entry?
I don't think there's anybody on here that's willing to organize a float. I'm not going to. After all the years we've done it, no way am I doing it again.
I just had one idea I wanted to throw out there, and I know it won't stick.
You're float man.
You misjudge your colleagues.
What if we did skywriting?
Well, that's what I was just saying, I said a flyover.
Watch her on
Come on,
PCA
you
TV.
guys.
I like that.
Okay,
Don't even get
I'm
an
gonna rein us
airplane
back
or
in
something.
here.
Yeah.
We do not need to figure out the details right now, we just need to agree on the submission of the
Yeah.
fee.
But that's the details.
Can we do that?
You have,
No.
you have to submit what you're gonna do. But,
We have till March 1st to come up with that.
I mean, I don't wanna stand in the way of what people wanna do. I mean, I think that, I mean, as I said, if you're gonna do it, it ought to fit into the theme in some way. But I think if you're gonna wanna do a banner with a lot of cameras, and that's part of the whole event with a bunch of cameras roving, and it's all kind of
Yeah.
integrated, that works enough for me. I mean, it'd be nice if we had some notion of how it fits into this Legends theme, just for
We are a
appearance's sake.
legend, we're
There you
PCA.
go.
What about any legend?
David, we're creating legends,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, that's true.
We
Oh.
create legends.
Create
Well, what if we
legends,
have,
okay.
what if we have like a chair floated, like a revolving chair, so anybody could come and you pick out someone out of the crowd, sit them down, and we go with the cameras and take pictures of them.
Doing what?
Sitting down and just becoming a legend for 5 seconds, and then switching
Oh,
to
become a legend for a
for a
minute.
minute, and then just kind of you know, so
Or
we're
you could
creating
become
a
the next
legend.
luminarian.
The-
Could be a flash in the
Everybody's
We could.
famous
Right,
right
right, just kinda-
Yeah, 15 seconds of
15
fame.
seconds of fame.
Yeah,
There you go. You got your 15 seconds. Get off the thing and get to know them.
We
You know.
can do that. You gotta trust me and George then to
For a
put it
$10
together, but
donation,
we
can
can't
have
do it
30
without a
seconds.
fee. Gotta pay the fee.
$40.
All right, I move we authorize $100 maximum for application and material fees for doing it.
We're not doing a float.
Okay, it's not a
Yeah, I would
float,
just
it's not
like
a
to
float.
rephrase what I heard, the banner with two sides, not frontal, but sideways, so they can see it from both sides, that says, smile, you're on PCA TV, we make legends. That with 5 people and 2 cameras, I think seven maximum, walking. It's like a bookmark in the parade,
Yep,
which floats past,
that reminds the messages.
reminds them, and
And
the
you
other
know-
crews are roving, and I like the crane
Yeah.
on some point.
And I like the 15 seconds of fame notion, if you wanna. we can-
That's a hard one to conceptualize in the
It
second
is.
that someone might see that.
But that could be part of the message that the
Mhm.
announcer says, there's camera teams roving, they're gonna get your 15 seconds of fame.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you find them and
And
jump
then,
in front of
and then for those people, they can tell their friends, oh, I'm gonna be on TV because I was on the float for 15 seconds, check me out on this and this and this, and that creates more buzz.
Okay.
That's the whole.
Create legends.
All right.
So we
okay.
have a motion.
So what's the motion? The motion is,
There's a motion
A
on the
rolling
floor.
karaoke machine, yeah, there you go.
Neil made a motion, $100.
Is that enough, if you want $200?
well, you gotta cover the cost of the banners.
How much do our banners run us usually?
I don't know.
Well, at this point, we just have to do the entry fee, we don't have to do the banners.
Alright, so $250 should cover it, right?
Well, don't even have to put a dollar figure on it, because we have a promotions budget.
Yes,
that can-
okay.
Yeah, okay,
Okay,
all right.
And
All right.
Matt is gonna look for a donated crane.
okay, restate your motion.
I move that we do an entry in the Better Names Day Parade, and that we use our promotional budget as the executive
Okay.
director and committee see fit to get this
I
rolling.
wanna,
Is there a second?
I think the motion should be clarified as how we define our entry. To basically say we're not doing a
It's not,
float.
it's not a float, but along the lines of
Yeah.
what we've discussed, a
Yes.
banner with cameras and maybe with the notion
some
of
window
we make
dressing.
legends. And,
All right.
and George and I will work out the rolling karaoke wagon.
I'll
We're
second
gonna push, you and I will push it.
I'll second the motion.
You know, we'll ride
The three of us.
The tricycle.
I'm gonna second the motion with the insistence that if we're gonna do that, we have coverage to have an effective presence with the cameras going on everywhere else. So it's a qualitative second. It's a second.
Really, doesn't have to be as painful as it's become.
I'm just saying I'm amending
Alright,
it.
so you can't amend his motion unless the maker of the motion wants to amend
Whatever
his
he
motion.
said
Would-
sounds
would you-
fine.
are you
I
cool with
don't,
amending
didn't hear
your
what you
motion?
said, but it sounded good.
Okay, is
And what
there
was
any
your-
further discussion?
Human resources permitted, just add that
Yeah,
to the
that's
end.
fine, that's fine.
How's that?
Oh, I have to write it down.
Yes.
Is there any
Speaking
further
of human
discussion?
resources.
All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Yay,
Okay.
motion carries.
Do you wanna specify the 3 walking and the 3 roving?
No, let's just move on.
Okay, we move on.
Oh, we wanna beat it to death, yeah.
I didn't like being in the burgomeister, I wanted to see the darn bird.
Okay,
I know.
11B, discussion and possible action on possible rebranding of PCA and name change. Hardly wait for this.
Do we need a commercial break?
I misspelled sufficient, hold on.
Oh, no.
I'll get to it later.
You got that, Larry?
Okay, so, yes, this has my name on it, although I'd say Eric is, as vice chair of the Outreach and Development Committee, we kind of share this concept. We talked about it at our meeting that we had over a month ago at this point. The subject of rebranding PCA came up, and the idea of making the name a little bit more reflective of what we do came up. This was in response to trying to grow awareness for PCA. One of the stumbling blocks a lot of us find is that you say PCA, people don't know what that means. You say Petaluma Community Access, they don't know what that means. Anytime you have a marketing situation where your acronym isn't very clear and then the ingredients of the acronym still don't spell it out, it's sort of a marketing challenge. So one of the things that I floated, and I think a few of us talked about, was the idea of somehow working in media center, because that's sort of, as unoriginal as it might be, that's kind of the genericized term for what PCA is. When I talk to people about it and I explain what PCA is, often they say, oh, you mean like a media center. So that's kind of where that came from. There was some concern about doing that because there's been years and years and years of branding PCA. Totally understandable, it's a classic concern when you're dealing with marketing and there's all this time that's been spent branding the name. However, companies sometimes do change when they realize that the name doesn't adequately reflect the brand. And now we have an opportunity with this new expansion of the office, the studio, the fact that the color bars represented in the PCA logo are really reminiscent of a different time. To sort of rebrand PCA is also about increasing its perception of relevancy and its actuality of relevancy, I would say, in the modern media age. And I think it would also be more descriptive of what we do. So, we threw out a bunch of different ideas about actually changing the name. We talked about the possibility of crowning the rebranding of PCA with a name change once we had things going, maybe towards the end of the year. I think you even mentioned maybe at the members meeting. So that's kind of where we're at on it. I still feel the same way. I think that, as I do respect the people that have been on this a lot longer than I have and their positions on it. At the same time, I do think the potential of a name change has more pros than cons in the long run if it's done correctly. So I still think it's a good idea, but I don't see how we could actually make action on it tonight because it would take a lot more brainstorming. We even talked about inviting members to participate in getting their feedback on what names they like. So I'm certainly not in a position right now to suggest that we have a motion to change the name. I think it's really just a point of discussion that goes along with the rebranding effort that's already underway.
If I may.
Yes,
If I
please.
may add, and I appreciate what you said, I think that, there's a way to frame this in far more strategic terms, and that is that PCA was first conceived, in an era, the pre-internet era, as we
Right.
know, when public access was a very dear thing and people didn't have the opportunity to post their work on YouTube or have wide access to cameras or anything like that. PCA really has not been reinvented since that time, and we as a board have not strategically looked at what this organization should be in the post-internet age, which is very important because the post-internet age is A, not only where we live and where our members live, but B, where our funding lives. And sometime down the road, in 4 or 5 years, when people look at PCA, and if we have not changed this organization and turned it from an old anachronistic organization of television to something that is more vital and viable for a community that is living in that internet age, then we're going to find ourselves being obsolete. And so instead of being obsolete in 5 years and being surprised at it, I think this idea of a rebranding is really a reinvention of the organization, so that in 4 or 5 years, or as in 2 years or whatever, we start moving to becoming a very vital center that actually helps the citizenry of Petaluma become something in the internet age, not in spite of the internet age. And the idea of a media center could very well be that thing. So I believe that the rebranding that Jason is talking about is just one element of a reinvention of this organization, and that's the important issue: how we reinvent ourselves, and then the rebranding becomes sort of the cherry on the ice cream as we do that, because we want to remain vital in the next 2 to 3 to 5 years. That's my interest in this move.
I would point out that rebranding and renaming are two different things, and I'm 100% behind reinventing and rebranding. I'll just share some staff concerns. We talked about it at our staff meeting. Zach is really fond of the PCA.TV. Actually, he's very fond of the .TV. So any acronym you come up with, he wants to do a search on it to make sure he can keep the .TV. We need to do business cards right away. Caitlin needs them. A time frame for this change is imperative. I can see that this is going to be a long-term discussion, so we're going to make business cards with the PCA. But we're going to rebrand it. We're going to get a new look. We're playing with a new design, fluttering little flakes of color. Santa Rosa did the same process. It took them almost 2 years. They had a member vote. The members voted for something that they didn't want. They changed it. It was a long process to come up with the Community Media Center of the North Bay. We also, in the outreach development, we talked about Media Center kind of echoed with Art Center. There was an issue there. But I'm all for the discussion. I'm all for the rebranding and reinventing of PCA. Just one philosophical thing I need to share, because it comes from my heart. I love access. I love the concept of access. It's democracy. We're never going to be a mini pixel. Forget that. If that's what you think you want, you got to add a 0 to our budget. We are a social resource and access to the media. Now we can redefine the media on a much larger scale, and I'm all for that. But I also work at the pleasure of the board. So if you want to change the name, I'll make it work.
What if Petaluma and community are almost sort of implied? What if it was Petaluma Media Access? And
It's
then
an
we have
easy
the
change.
word media.
But if you want to start talking about the possible names, we could be here for 2 hours. I think the
Right.
idea is the principle. Do we want to go in that direction?
Yeah.
And start
Right.
the process.
I believe at the retreat, and we're going right into the same discussion we had at the last meeting at our
Yes.
retreat, and that I tend to remember some discussion about having a business plan come to us with a timeline showing us how this might look. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to be engaged on an idea that I don't even know what it looks like, so.
And something else I just want to mention is we might have to refile our paperwork with the,
like do a DBA.
well, not just that, but also with the state.
Board of Corporations.
Yeah.
That's cheap.
Yeah, but just there's going to be some other cost and timeline.
Would you do a DBA?
Well, personally, I'm more interested in the reinvention process than the renaming process, because I think the renaming process, what
It's
ultimately
crowning the reinvention.
is crowning, and ultimately that decision will be determined on how we reinventing ourselves.
Right.
And I think Cindy is right that at this point, you know, here is where we come to where we could perhaps have a business plan or a vision plan that shows what this roadmap is for the reinvention of PCA. And then if that roadmap comes to the logical conclusion that a new name might be necessary because we're doing such radically different and wonderful things, then indeed we go for a new name. If it is just just a small name change like PCA TV, and we just really start rebranding that could be very interesting too. But I don't even think we can get that to decision until we start the reinvention. And the whole idea of the lounge, of having, you know, studio, all that kind of stuff is all part of this reinvention. And then we rebrand that as we need. So that's where I see it.
I think you better order business cards the way they are.
Just don't order so many.
Says pragmatic Tim.
They're not that expensive.
Just a
Okay,
print.
so can we expect anything at the next meeting, or?
A business plan?
Well, I think we can
Well,
probably.
you can't just say, we're gonna do this and not have a plan.
I mean, I think the plan is that it's really a culmination of all of these things we've talked about doing in terms of the studio expansion, new events at PCA, getting more on YouTube. It's getting away from what Eric mentioned in the very beginning, this vestige of PCA. And as far as a business plan, I mean, we have a functioning plan for PCA's growth. I don't see this as all that complicated in terms of renaming an organization. I think if we are looking at wanting to better define what we do, the idea of a name change is a pretty commonsensical one. That said, it's meaningless unless we actually go forward with the steps that we're talking about, which are in motion. I mean, we're going to have a meeting next week regarding the studio. You know, Zach's back, which is great. So we're talking about more events. All these things are great. I don't want to get stuck on the name thing. I'm just thinking that down the road, when all of these things are going forward, like Eric also said, we might, and you even said, we might want to crown it with something that just better defines what we do. Because Petaluma Community Access, it just isn't very clear, and we can spend a lot more time and effort trying to train everybody to understand what it means, or we could at a certain point realize maybe a new name would actually make it easier for people to understand, and we'd get a lot more done more efficiently in terms of getting the word out.
A suggestion also you can do, if you get PCA, you can put, you know, television and new media available to the community or something
You
like
could
that.
do a tagline.
You could do a tagline.
Well,
on
there
it.
was a tagline that Caitlin came up with that was your new media resource center or something like that. Wasn't there a great tagline?
New Media Hub.
New Media Hub or something like that, which is, you know, it's that, you know, that's also a possibility as well.
Yeah, I mean, if we stuck with the acronyms in the beginning, or even just completely stuck with it, just having media center somewhere in the description could help. But I mean, I run into this marketing problem constantly with PCA. I don't know how many of you have experienced it, but what is PCA? What does it do? You have to go into a huge explanation, and at the end of it, they say that, oh, you need a media center. Why didn't you just tell me that? Because we're PCA.
When somebody asks me, I just say channel 26, 27, 28, and they go, oh.
And that's all we do? That doesn't talk about YouTube, it doesn't talk about the classrooms, it doesn't talk about Final Cut Pro classes.
True.
I mean, it just misses, and access is that, as you said, like what,
So adding a-
utility access like in the storm drain or something, is that what?
So I don't have any problem adding a tagline. I mean, that makes more sense than just
Well, that's an easier thing to do, you don't have
total
to
name
change.
change. I mean,
Yeah. Change is difficult sometimes.
I think rebranding and or renaming and or reinventing is gonna be more than the lead time John was hoping for ordering business cards.
Yeah.
This is true.
I wouldn't
No.
worry about ordering business cards.
No, we need them, we'll get them, and we've sunk our teeth into the reimagining PCA. And Caitlin is new, and Zach is back with this new energy because of that openness to reinvent.
Right.
So we're doing it, and I look at the lounge party as the start, and the members meeting blowout is the target, the end. So we have a period, and we're gonna be working on our messaging and our equipment at the same time. If we're gonna get ideas, we can explore a name, we can see if the domain name is available, those kind of things. That's,
Another way you could do it is you could parse out different aspects to PCA. You could call the physical place of PCA's media center. And PCA still remains Petaluma Community Access, but at least you guys have a media center. It just starts making it more clear for people.
AKA office.
Yeah, well, we have to really have one if
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about it.
but I would say in a timeline, we need, if I wanted to get Petaluma to say, I'm going down to PCA, we wanna get them to stop saying PCA, and I'm going down to the media center.
Right.
Give me 6 months, and
Yeah,
really
yeah.
concentrated work on newspaper,
Yeah.
publicity, on-air branding, just to make that happen.
Right.
So, and I think we're already making that happen. I
Right.
wanna go to a media.
Yeah.
I like Hub better than Center, 'cause I don't wanna echo the Art Center.
Yeah, you might be
Media
right.
Okay. Modern Media Hub.
We did mention Hub as
Yeah.
one of the.
But we can come up, maybe tomorrow we'll have a better idea, but I think we're in the process,
Well, like I said, this wasn't to try to come up with a name tonight and or complete rebranding strategy, but it was a topic I wish actually that we'd had Cindy at that meeting because she would have gone through the brainstorming process that we went through a bit more, but
Well, I understand where you're going, I really do. And I've been at Kaiser Permanente for 20 years, and we've rebranded so many times. I know what the process is.
yeah.
I know that there has to be a plan for it,
Yeah.
and a solid plan, or you're just throwing money away, really.
And now you're thriving.
alright, so this was new business, there's no action here, would that be a good end to this conversation?
Yeah, there's no action.
We'll just continue the conversation, we'll continue the reinventing, and if John, you need additional help in sort of codifying that, or memorializing it in any way, that could be considered a business plan or a vision plan or whatever. Well, there's the studio radio build out, there's a subcommittee already set, that's gonna define the hardware that we're gonna make available. That would include still cameras if we wanna go there, we're already talking about Photoshop. That'll define the actual hardware. Then there's what Caitlin uses as a tagline. She's already experimenting. There's a lot of, I don't know if you've been watching, there's a lot of new station identifications.
I saw that, yeah.
And she's getting interns to do them, and there's a lot of ways we can go with that. So the sooner we get our best chance for a tagline and we start running with it, then it'll get us to somewhere else where something else could go farther. It'll be a gradual process. I think Cindy's right, we need a plan, we need a timeline, but I think we have a start and a finish for a concentrated rebranding.
Strategy.
It'd be a great thing to kick off of a members meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah. well,
that
it's
was
a
one of
great
the things we talked
Yeah,
about, was
That's-
having members.
That's a nice discrete endpoint for something like
Yeah.
this.
thing.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Is that it? Okay,
Anytime you
I
need any
think
help, just let us
now
know.
we're through old business, new business, and we'll adjourn now to close session for our last item, and thank the public for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank-
much.